It's a USNG implementation work group meeting of April 26th of 2023. The agenda as posted is above. We'll do a half an hour of an administrative meeting. There are going to be 2 lightning briefs, and the intent out of this is to start creating a package of smaller briefs and that are available for quick training. Typically in the fire service, they call them coffee break training. We'd like to start packaging things up like this and having them readily available from the YouTube site. And I've more or less arm twisted 2 other members of the board to kick this kind of process off. So Randy Knippel will go first with an introduction to USNG, and then we're going to do a lightning brief on emergency response in the U.S. National Grid by BJ Colstead, retired emergency manager, Lake County. And then we're going to do a forward facilitated discussion about what we can do better, how we can move things forward in a quicker fashion and more focused way. So here we go with the administrative meeting and updates. Opening on the roll call, it should be already automatically being collected off of the Zoom file. So as long as you identified yourself with some reasonable degree of what do I want to say, text, we'll have an understanding who is here. The recorder is obviously on. And before we press forward any further, are there any changes to the agenda, as simple as it may be? Going once, going twice, gone. And with that, I'm gaveling open the meeting and we're underway. Reports, myself, Steve Swayze, I'm the chair of this group, and I welcome all of our folks that are here today. Those that are new in attendance, thank you very much for making the effort to be here. We're trying to do effective outreach as best we can in developing the U.S. National Grid Institute and its implementation work group as a way to try to carry forward implementation, facilitation, collaboration on U.S. National Grid. Randy, I'll drop down to you next. I believe during the board of directors meeting, we agreed that the next meeting of this larger group would occur on July 26th. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add for a report?
Nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. And BJ, are you ready to go with where we are for money?
Sure. The treasurer's report, we currently have a whopping $379.16 in our checking account.
You have more inbound. I know this for a fact.
I know we do have more inbound, but it's not here yet.
Yeah, it will be shortly. And then so one of the things that we have as an objective as set for goals for this year is to try to standardize everything in our meeting process so that it's as easy as possible for those that are actively engaged to participate with things like committee reports, things of that nature. So going forward, starting July 2023, the goal is to have in place chairs that are leading efforts that are outreach / operations, technical and training. And this would be the slot where in that meeting in July, they would have the ability to report. Next item on here is old business. The USNG IWG meeting presentations. As it sits right now, we will be uploading those onto the YouTube site for the Institute, and we'll see here in a little bit a slide that'll show you where that stuff is and things of that nature. But if you have a topic that you think would fit into kind of a 15-minute sound block, we would love to have you come forward and let us know that you'd be interested in providing a presentation of that nature that we can supplement our quarterly meetings with. And the next item down is one of the things that was brought forward in the past was the need for some type of ability for an individual to put forward a question and have it answered by somebody with a degree of expertise in U.S. National Grid. So 4 of us have volunteered to screen the messages, emails that will come in at info@usngi.org. And one of us will effectively respond to whatever the question might be. And that's also an opportunity if you're interested in participating in any other way within this group. You can make that known at that email address. Once again, info@usngi.org. And then the last item here is the review of the 1-year goals. So we'll jump on to the next slide and we'll take a look at what the 1-year goals are and where we are and progress in getting there. So what had been put forward as being previously completed, let me back up for a second. All of the items that are here in white were the items that were brought forward as being things that for year 1, we would like to have completed and in place for this group. So I've more or less color coded the headers for the breakouts, and the very top one, green, like we're good to go, is positioned for the first elected board of directors, and that will occur in November. And the board has been set up so that there are 9 members on the board. So every year, 3 will rotate off of the board and 3 will come on with a 3-year term. The quarterly, did I do that right? Yep. The quarterly large group meetings resumed. Well, you're participating in it right now. We hope to grow the number of people that are participating in, because lively discussion always helps the cause. What has been completed since the last board meeting, which occurred in April, is that the nationwide database, and I'll show you that here in a bit, has been completed both in a storage form within Google Contacts and also in the distribution of the email, the MailChimp email that went out. That capability has now been facilitated, and they're broken down with tags in a way that allows very targeted distribution if it needs to be done. And then the ability to take donations. Dave, who's on the call right now, brought forward the idea that the original donation module that we're using was called Give Minnesota. And so again, you'll see here shortly, we've moved on to a different donation platform that has more of a generic US-wide flavor to it. By our next USNG board of directors meeting, which will occur in May, we're looking to have our website finished, work site in place, and hopefully a rep for each FEMA region identified. That's going to be more or less like a den mom or den dad for that particular region to do coordination, things of that nature. And then by July 26th, the next time this group meets, we look to have functioning organization administratively and operationally. And to define that, it would mean that we're looking at having a chaired outreach committee, a chaired technical committee, and a chaired training committee. So we'll be working our way through the slide deck here in a bit, and you'll see a lot more flavor of information about where the websites are located, emails, things of that nature. So consistent look and feel. We're trying to standardize everything from meetings to eventually to letterheads, all of that stuff. And then finally, it looks like if we stay on track for the way that we've been moving forward, we'll be positioned to transition from an organization building function to ongoing encouragement of implementation through outreach and technical support and training. and we think we can be there by July. So we'll be almost 6 months ahead on schedule of getting the year's goals done. Just so you're aware of it, what the follow-up on the comment about the regional POCs, we've felt that the best way to break that apart would be by FEMA regions. And the ones that I have circled here, 1, 6, 8, and 10 are the areas where we specifically have a need for someone to step forward. And the other areas, we're well aware of either people on the board or others that are very engaged that will serve as the regional point of contact in those areas. So if you have interest in your viewing this and you're in one of those areas, we'd love to hear from you, and we'll talk you through about what we're thinking. And as it indicates down below there, outreach, organization, coordination, just for there to be someone in the region that can kind of help build some momentum in that area. We've looked at this slide before, and it's the thought that right now we've got 3 people, myself, Randy, and BJ, that are largely carrying the effort to implement the functional pieces of making the organization move forward. And what we'd really love to be able to have is individuals that would perhaps step forward and look to fill those roles either in conjunction with the individuals that are tagged right now to do it, or if they're a really hot runner and want to take on the whole thing, swap out. That'd be a wonderful thing. That takes us down to, before I go on to new business, are there any questions from old business? Going once, going twice, gone. Okay, organizational emails, we've flipped those on. Chair has been operating for a long time, but within the last month or so, we turned on secretary and treasurer. And I know BJ and Randy like to use their own personal emails, but I would ask if you go to send something to them using personal emails that you also think about info copying secretary and treasurer, because what we're trying to do there is build out a persistent email that will carry the history of contact that is occurring across those emails. Next item I've got here on the listing here is the board is now complete, and the next thing that'll follow that is social media / IT enablement. So we'll take a look at one slide that's for the board as it currently exists, and then we'll go walk through all of the work that's gone on moving our IT infrastructure forward. So here we go. The board as it currently sits right now, the officers are all based in Minnesota, which is a bad thing. So we'll be looking to, as part of our governance development effort going forward, see what we can do about rotating as they come up for election, individuals from other parts of the United States into those slots. But as I've more or less indicated already, I'm the chair as it currently sits. Randy Knippel, who is the secretary, is the GIS manager from Dakota County. I would prefer that we could walk through and let each of them introduce themselves, but we're short for time today. So I'll just, pass along. Treasurer is BJ Colstead, retired emergency manager out of Lake County. And then at large, we have Cole Brown, who's the SAR coordinator for the Maryland State Patrol in Maryland. Bernard Catlantano. Did I do it right, Bernard? I always mess this up. Are you there? Okay, Bernard.
Yeah, that's close. That's close. Catalinato. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Bernard. I apologize. Is a retired mapping executive that has his own business underway called My Mapbook. You're in Marin County, aren't you, Bernard? You're going to correct me on that too.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, goody. I got it right.
You got it right.
All right. So he's out in California. Mike Core is with Florida State University down in Florida. Mary Susan Knaus retired from the New York DOT, and she's currently the president of the New York GIS Association. Fennis Reed is a numbers cruncher guy that's coming up with some unique ways to use U.S. National Grid in both the academic and finance angles. He's out in California. And then Lieutenant Al Studd down in Florida. He wears two hats, both a volunteer fireman and then also at Cape Canaveral. So I think we've got a reasonable spread across the country for the time being to get out of the gate. And we've finally been able to build out the entire board. So we're happy with that. We just stood up a Facebook site. There's going to need to be a little tuning on that before we start pushing the word on that. Circling back to talking about the issue of the donation capability. This is now a direct page on the USNG Institute's website, has a donate function that has now been built into it, and it uses a system called Give Butter. And basically you can click on or modify or, indicate a different amount that you want to donate. And what you should get out of that, and again, in our effort to try to professionalize everything, previous donations would have given you a receipt from ShareGeo. Here you're going to get a receipt that shows that, in fact, it's from the U.S. National Grid Institute. So it lets you know that if you haven't participated with us before, that this organization, the Institute, is now a fiscal sponsorship project of ShareGeo, which extends the tax deferred, the tax exempt status to our organization under an IRS sanctioned arrangement. So again, that should pop up in your mailbox if you go ahead and give a donation to the U.S. National Grid Institute. We are also currently in the process of changing over our banking system. It was originally hooked directly to my personal account, and we're moving to make it the primary responsibility of the organization treasurer, and place myself and Nancy Reed from ShareGeo as having the ability to pop in and see what's going on. Then the Google Contacts thing. Here's why I want to, this here is not representative of the way the data lays out. I used one that was that didn't have any contacts in it, and the idea behind it is that it offers the way forward for us to sort by level of participation in the Institute, what FEMA region a person might be in, and what sort of profession they might be involved in that would have them have interest in what we're doing with U.S. National Grid. So for instance, we could find all the individuals that are in the emergency services sector in FEMA 8, and that allows us to sort and be able to have a capability of doing a very targeted message push to try to create training events or other similar things. And then, as I indicated earlier, we've also moved over to being able to use MailChimp for the first time, and that's taken a considerable bit of effort to, if you will, build in this capability. And through a thing called tagging, we can do the same thing over here as far as an email push of getting something that's very targeted. Our website currently has a very good breakout in the about area concerning the organization. And over the next 2 weeks or so, the remainder of this website is going to get built out to the degree that you're interested in where this thing's located. The URL is down here, and it's pretty simple. It's usngi.org. And beyond that, everything, the plan is to move everything there with the exception of the training, the informational related stuff that has to do with the grid itself will remain on the information center. Website pages that are in development There will be an endorsement page that's going to show all the organizations that have endorsed the use of USNG, and there will be reference links that'll take you to the appropriate documents that connect back to that. So that's kind of a sell item. And then we'll be posting some items called in a news breakdown, which will have, if we have any press releases, they'll be listed there. We're going to do a thing called Lost on the way to the response. There's plenty of examples where, unfortunately, there was confusion about where an incident was taking place and caused issues with the responders getting there in an effective amount of time. And then if there's instances where we've got US National Grid in the news, they'll be posted as a separate breakout. In the training webpage, it'll get stood up. That'll have three functions. They'll have an ability to ask an expert. There'll be linkage to online training. And then finally, if there's in person, we know right now of two instances where there's going to be in-person training taking place shortly. Those will be listed out also. And then a chance to have a volunteer form. And then last but not least, through a login for folks that are on the board of directors or on committees, there'll be a resource hub that will be located inside this website. And which means is anybody that's been around long enough to have been fiddling around with the original implementation workgroup.org website, that thing's gone. And also the same thing, well, I don't want to say it that way. The USNG Center, if it becomes apparent that this group that we're putting together here gains the legs to stand on, there's no certainty that we're going to get there. But if it appears that we get to the point where there's enough momentum, ownership of the U.S. National Grid Information Center will be transferred to this group, and there'll be an opportunity to update, any and all of the stuff that's in fact located on the center. So that'll be a transfer of ownership plan. That walked us down through the board's now complete, the social media and the IT enablement, which means at this point, is there any other old business anybody would like to bring forward? Going once, going twice, gone. Which moves us along to comments, announcements, and other business. And same thing, I will open the floor to, is there any comments, announcements, or other business that anyone would like to bring forward? Going once, going twice, gone. All right. That takes us down to one last thought. If you are interested in attending any of the meetings in the future, sitting on the board of directors meeting or coming in and joining us again in July, that information will be posted here, and we'll also continue to actively push meeting notifications to a larger audience. But it's the reminder that if you should get lost and you're interested in an email gets buried or whatever, that information will always be available on the website under what's defined as the meeting link on the website. So look for that on the website, and you'll always be able to find information on being able to check in to the next USNGI meeting. Okay, that takes us down to an end time. I've gotten us within 30 seconds back on track. So that's something I like. And I'm kind of sorry that I had to talk like I'm talking out of a fire hose, but I had to get the job done today. So thanks for bearing with me on that. Our next meeting date and time, Wednesday, July 26th, 2 p.m.